Dustin over here at Motostuff with our first ever Bike of the Month winner, Dustin Kuykendall. He's got the mean machine that is a KTM 350 that is sitting right behind us. And so Dustin, go ahead and tell us a little about you and how long you've been riding and what we're taking a look at.
I'm Dustin Kuykendall. I've been riding since I was probably 12 years old, which I'm terrible with math, but it's like 20 years or more. Grew up riding in Southern Oregon, just riding trails and tracks, and just stuck with it.
Nice. So what made you want to build a KTM 350?
Well, I got rid of my other 350 and wanted to get more of a track bike. I had a XC, a 350 XC KTM, and as you can see, you know, with this track here and a bunch of other private tracks down in Southern Oregon and friends and stuff, we was riding more tracks. So the idea kind of just snowballed. It started out with I wanted to do really good suspension, and then it was like, well, that goes good with this and goes good with this, and other people started helping out and kind of just snowballed.
It's really cool. So in your description there is a laundry list of modifications on there. So go ahead and run us through the ones that you can think of.
Flow levers, Jervis skid plates, Hammerhead hooked us up with some titanium foot pegs, and the brake lever and shifter went with the ODI bars, the ODI grips, changed those up. The Niken air spring triple clamp, Rekluse clutch helped out a lot, and I've had Rekluses in my past bikes and really liked them. So.
And you got the auto one as we were talking about earlier, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And now, how do you like that from the other ones that you possibly had?
Like I've ridden bikes without auto clutches, and then just the full autos, and they're awesome. I mean, there's really no difference between the automatic clutch and then a regular clutch. You can still use it, you know, modulate it, fan the clutch, feather the clutch. It's just kind of a safety net. It doesn't stall when you get tired and get on pump and don't pull on the clutch all the way. So
yeah, I may or may not have done that over a couple of these jumps and stalled it middle while trying to brake tap. But I noticed when I was riding it, I couldn't tell the difference. I was expecting some sort of hesitation coming in or out of a corner, or just like in shifting, and it felt great.
Yeah, a lot of people don't, they'll hop on it, and if I don't tell them, they don't know that it's an auto clutch. And yeah, that's the best thing about it. There really is no difference. It doesn't have a weird lever feel, doesn't have any weird feedback, and if you set it up properly, it doesn't coast. You know, like a lot of people say, it'll coast going into a corner, but if you set them up right, then it's just like a regular clutch.
Yeah. And you said that you wanted to start off with really good suspension, which, if taking a look at it, there is an amazing rear shock on there and some great looking coatings on the front. So
yeah,
go ahead and run us through who helped you with that and sort of what they did with it.
So OMA-KTM was what we wanted to go with, the Kashima coating and the DLC coating. That's what really caught my eye. And then our local guy here in town, Derek Steely, with NV2 suspension, he works really closely with the OMA-KTM, and they had a new cartridge that just came out, and he's like, let's throw that in there, you know, just get the newest, baddest stuff, and then the coatings, and I mean, if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it, you know. So
might as well do it right.
Yep. And then the rear shock, we were gonna just take the stock shock and rebuild it. They have a tank kit, and you can coat the shaft, and you can do a bunch of stuff to it, but that, after you do all that, it's almost really close to a national shock. So the national shock is a custom shock. It has multiple adjusters: high speed compression, low speed compression, mid speed compression, CNC machine body, like up top, their own tank, their own reservoir internals. I mean, it's just, and then the DLC coating, it's awesome.
Yeah, and I feel like they did such an amazing job with that suspension, because as you and I were talking about, we are different in weight by a little bit, and I don't have a huge experience in suspension, but I can definitely tell when something's done right.
Yeah.
And when I was going into corners, it was real settled, and it didn't try and hop out or hop in, and if it did, it was because my wrongdoing. But over jumping or casing, there was a couple times where I thought I was going to be in big trouble, but it just absorbed it real nice, and I could just keep going and not be like, ow, my wrists hurt so bad type thing. So that was super nice, and to not worry about that and just to be able to focus on riding and staying smooth. So
yeah, that's one of the biggest things is overshooting your casing. I am terrible with timing jumps, always have been, and it's just a huge safety net. You know, it's something that you can come up short on it and it'll take it and not throw you over the bars. This track that we rode on today isn't super rough, but it does have a lot of jumps, and it handled it really well. I mean, like you were saying too, in the corners it feels really planted. It feels real good.
Yeah. And going, like, there was a couple jumps out here that for your first time coming out, it's like they're kind of intimidating, because some of them, like, if you look at them, they're pretty decently spaced and they have pretty good sized faces and then some steep landing. So it's really fun. And then it's like when you come up on those, it doesn't feel like it's G'ing out by any means. It just takes it real nice all the way up the face. So I definitely feel like the suspension was like an amazing move.
Yeah, and before we rode it here, we did a lot of testing out in the trails. That's where mostly all we have down home is trail riding, and it's a huge difference. It feels like you're just on top of everything, and it just bounces through things, not in a bad way, but it's really good.
So within builds, there's usually some sort of problem that arises, and you see it on a lot of TV shows, and of course, the TV shows, but there's always that one moment where something goes really wrong.
Yeah.
Was there any sort of situation like that with your build going on?
Not really. The only thing that was close to being bad was getting the suspension and getting it shipped over. MX-Tech's over on the East Coast, and they literally shipped my stuff out, and then the next day it had to close because of the coronavirus. So it was like literally down to the wire of, are we going to get it or are we not going to get it? And thankfully they pulled through, worked some overtime or whatever, but got it shipped out.
That's really cool.
And it really was kind of pins and needles there for a little while, because if we didn't get the suspension, then it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of another bike.
And speaking of some of the mods, you and I were talking a little bit about the titanium on the bike and how much weight you actually saved. You're telling me that you lost about 2.5 pounds, correct? On just the titanium parts in general, and then like you had the baggie of all your other parts.
Yeah. So it was kind of a running joke, I need more titanium. I need more titanium. And then every time I was like, oh, we just get this, clutch cover bolt kit. Oh, that looks really cool. But then the water pump, it's right there. Those bolts are right there. And then it's these bolts, and then this, and then that, and then engine mounts and engine bolts and fasteners. RaceTech Titanium's helped out huge with, getting us all that stuff dialed in. And then Warp 9 actually has a plastic fastener titanium kit, which is actually what started the addiction, with all the cool anodized, or not anodized, but the burnt titanium look on all the bolts and stuff, and it really sets it off, and it ties together really well with the Apocryphich, I think I said that right, pipe and the titanium foot pegs and everything. It really ties the room together.
Yeah, it certainly does, especially like today the exhaust wasn't quite as purple and blue as it was now.
Yeah,
it is now, and it looks amazing.
Yeah, it is, and it's cool to see that just naturally happen. We've done other builds, 2-strokes and stuff, where you can take a pipe and make it into a works pipe and blue the welds and make it look really, really cool. But it's even better when it just kind of happens naturally.
Yeah, that's for sure. So for the people at home that are thinking about buying a KTM 350 or already have one, and they're thinking about putting some mods, what would you say your top 3 mods would be that you've noticed on this bike that they should get, and maybe your favorite one out of all of them?
The favorite one obviously has got to be suspension. Not only looks cool, but it serves the best purpose. It makes the most difference, not only just in your riding, but in your performance, in your stamina on the bike. I mean, everything. It makes a huge difference.
And you have so much more confidence when you're riding too.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and like you feel faster because of it, and then you start riding better and you feel comfortable.
Yeah, the suspension makes you want to go faster. It pushes you, almost pushes you, because you can hit bumps harder, you can hit stuff faster, and it takes it, and you don't even notice it.
Yeah.
So that's a huge thing is suspension, I think, and getting it dialed in to your, even if you just get it resprung. A lot of people don't even do that. Getting it resprung for your weight, is huge. But going the extra mile with maybe a spring conversion like we did with this, or just going through it and revalving it, would help too. Second one would be obviously the pipe, and then Tokyo Mods remapped the ECU with their own map, and then left our stock map on there too. So you can switch back and forth between those two, and that really helped out too. I mean, the thing pulls, 350s in general pull to the moon. You can rev that thing out. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So that I think just enhanced it for sure.
There's a straight stretch that's on the track for those of you who haven't been here, and came out of the corner and the thing just hooked, and then I wanted to sort of see how much I can get out of that gear, and I was surprised it just held it all the way through.
Yeah.
And as we were talking about earlier, you can ride it sort of like a 250, but it still has that pull and natural like low end grunt that's sort of like a 450.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. It doesn't yard your arms off, doesn't make you tired, and it rewards you, if you keep it pinned.
Yeah, definitely. So if you were to go back with the knowledge that you have now, would there be anything that you would change on the build, or that you might have done different to make things go a little bit easier or smoother?
Not really. I mean, I've worked at OMA-KTM for a number of years, and we've done other builds for customers and for the shop too, just to sell. And it was actually super easy to build this because I knew what I wanted to use. You put this part on a bike, and you're like, yeah, that kind of worked. Then you put this on a bike, and it's like, well, that's way better, And so we've kind of narrowed that down just by trial and error over the course of the years of doing this. And the only thing I'd probably do is brace up the radiators a little bit.
Because you were talking about you're riding some woods.
Yeah, I'm hard on radiators. I don't know what it is, but they don't hold up for me.
Yeah, that's a problem for a lot of us.
Yeah, I'm more upset that I have to polish another set of radiators.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, gotta sit there for a couple hours and do that.
But
so with the final product, were you super stoked on how all this turned out? Because the graphics look great, the exhaust looks great, the bike over in general ties together super well. So
yeah,
how stoked did you say that you got this?
Over the moon. Like AM Designs hooked up the graphics, and I just kind of gave him an idea what I wanted to do, and showed him a picture of the bike was all black up front, orange in the rear, and wanted the OMA-KTM logo. That was it, and just killed it. Once he put the graphics on, then it was like it set in. It was like, this thing is sick. It's not over the top, it's not too flashy, it's subtle, it's everything. It's
nice because there's not too much black, there's not too much orange. It's just right.
Yeah,
so.
I know. I was worried about it, with all the different titanium stuff and the colors, and then black, and then the Rekluse clutch cover, and I overthink a lot of things sometimes, and I don't know, I don't know if I lucked out or if it just worked. It worked real good.
Oh, yeah.
So super happy with how it came out.
Yeah, and coming from CRF 250 to this, it was kind of scary on how fast I felt like I got comfortable with the bike, which is astounding because they handle completely different.
Yeah.
One's steel frame, one's aluminum. Suspension is completely different. They have completely different power ratios, and it was really nice to just hop onto the bike and just be sort of comfortable.
Yeah.
And I've ridden some KTMs and wasn't real happy with them, but this one was amazing. So.
Yeah, I like all my levers and bars neutral, so I think that tailors to a lot of people. They can just jump on it and go, because it's very neutral.
Yeah.
It's not weird angles or anything like that, and everything it's pretty dialed.
Speaking about levers, there was something that you and I were talking about earlier as well, about the flow levers. There was a bolt that you found that I think maybe some people at home can benefit from, because I was suffering from it and I was kind of freaking out about it, and it is when the levers go down when you land, or just in general.
Yeah.
And you found the bolt to actually adjust it.
There is. I actually thought it was defective because they bend outward and they bend up and down. They bend down easier than up, which is kind of weird. I never even thought they bent up.
Yeah.
But I was riding on my other bike, I had the flow levers, and you'd land off something and the lever would bend down a little bit, and it just kind of bugged me, and I actually thought it was a defective issue. Talked to Flo, And then I got another lever, and in the little package there's actually a little note in there that most people, including myself, just disregarded because I know levers. There's an Allen screw inside there that you have to take the lever off the bike, but there's an Allen screw in there and you can create more or less tension on how it goes up and down. And if you just run those in till they're really snug, not tight, just snug, fixes it.
Yep.
And they feel just like a normal lever, don't have to worry about anything bending, and it still flexes and does everything. And yeah.
And they're super comfortable levers. I was like in love with them when I first put them on my bike. I was just, the only thing that I've had complaints on was that, and I'm so happy
the wiggle.
That you figured that
yeah,
out.
Exactly. They have a really good feel. Front brake lever is really short. The clutch lever is a little longer, but it gives a better pull, I think. And the shape of them is really similar to stock, which is really good.
So with all that you've put into it, who like overall has like helped you out with this? Like anybody that you'd like to thank for their support? Or...
I got to give a huge shout out to OMA-KTM, obviously. They, helped us out with getting the bike and facilitating that. It's a shop where we work at, so, obviously got to plug them. Rekluse helped out big. MX Tech was another big one. Hammerhead, Warp 9, RaceTech Titanium. Firepower hooked us up with nice gold chain and a lightweight battery. Dirt Tricks got us hooked up with some sprocket, which I won't run any other sprocket now after running that thing. It'll last you years. You'll sell the bike and you'll still have the same sprocket on there. Yeah. They got the Dirt Tricks rear rotor on there. Boyesen hooked us up with the super cooler and AM Designs. He helped out with the graphics. Those turned out really good. And everybody here at the Funny Farm for letting us ride and enjoy one of the last good dirt days.
Oh yeah, and the dirt was absolutely amazing here. The track was awesome, and I couldn't be more thankful for them letting us come out here. And you also said that we didn't get to talk about the brake rotor very much, which you wrote it, I wrote it, and someone else wrote it, and they also noticed that you can really get on it. But I've actually never ridden with one of those on because my bike's in the shop and I'm getting it put on while it's getting all put together. But it was actually kind of scary because it was like I'm so used to it being real touchy.
Yeah, like a light switch.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it wants to lock up. But with the Motostuff brake rotor, you can really get on that thing and it not lock up, and you can get so much more stopping power.
Yeah, it's a totally different riding style. I don't know. Like you said, it's kind of scary. Like I'm grabbing this thing really hard and it should be locking up, but it isn't. But I'm stopping.
Yeah.
Has great feel. And then honestly, we didn't even really break it in or scrubbing the pads or the rotor. It was just out here, and I mean, yeah, you could really get on it, and it's solid. It's always the same. It's consistent. The stock brakes on the KTM are awesome with the Brembo brakes. The steel braided lines are really good. This just gave it, like you've said, and like your website says, better modulation, better feel, more control. You can really hammer into it, and it feels really good. Yeah,
and it was weird to trust the brakes so much to where you can go into that corner real late and just get on it, and that was super cool.
Yeah, it worked really good with the suspension, like we were talking too. The suspension settles in, and it settles, and it doesn't do anything weird. It's really predictable.
Yep, and that's the other thing with the confidence, and it's awesome. It makes you so much of a better rider. But one last question: can we be expecting any more crazy awesome builds like this in the future?
I don't know. I do have other ideas of making like a really good, badass off-road bike that's, with really good suspension, all the components, all the guards on it and stuff like that. Where we live in Southern Oregon, there's a lot of off-road riding, so I think like a 300 XC that's all done up would be pretty killer.
Oh, sweet. Well, thank you again for submitting and being a part of this and letting me ride it and having such an awesome ride day. I've had an absolute blast. And for those of you who are at home, feel free to submit your application on our website. It only takes a few minutes, and it is definitely worth it because your application will recur into following months, so it's basically a guaranteed win. So feel free to do that, and we'd love to have a ride day if possible and just have a good time. So have a good rest of your day, guys, and thank you again.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Even though we should be shaking hands on COVID.
Whatever. We can cut that part out.
Yeah.